you ever worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. It's Canon with Tyler, Phil, and Boris. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the It's Canon podcast. That's right, you are not hearing things. I'm back, as always. You completely threw me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to hype you.
That's all right. As always, we are your hosts. I'm Boris, and this week I am joined by the one, the only Phil.
Hi.
And Tyler.
Hey, yo.
We're going to power through, guys. That's right, this week, it's a long weekend up here in the Great White North. It is fake Thanksgiving, as I like to call it. We have a lot of things that we're thankful for. Myself, for one.
I'm thankful for you too, Boris.
That's right. At least someone is.
He's not dead, folks.
I am not.
We told you we didn't kill him.
Yet. Look.
Didn't say we weren't trying.
Maybe that's this fucking cough I have right now. It's not the hangover.
Sure. That might be.
Oh, that's some dead air for the episode. All right, guys.
Shut up.
This is the worst fucking intro ever.
Hey, come on, we're back. You know what? We had a break. We missed Boris. We found him at the bottom of the ocean. We pulled him up. He had a lot of gas, but he's back.
Barely. Only half of me. I'm about 60% right now.
Jeez. I would have thought by reading your chat this morning, I would have thought 30%. But.
Fuck. Whew. About an hour ago, I was like 40%.
Well, we're making progress then. By the end of the podcast, you might be at 80%.
Maybe. Then now we're pushing.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Well, or you're going to crash. You're going to be like, nope, losing it. Going down.
Pretty much. That's right. This is the It's Canon podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things geek. We talk about all things comic, all things movies, all things games, all things toys, all things books, all things Lego, all things Animal Crossing, all things COVID. And the best part of it all is, you guys know what it is? You guys, anyone?
It is a small break from the unending respite. It's a small respite from the unending terror of the surrounding world.
Pretty much.
I just heard it's in canon.
That's right. It's all in canon. All right, guys, we have a lot to talk about, even though 2 minutes ago I said we have nothing to talk about, but it's showtime. We got to talk about something. So let's start off. This is a long weekend up here in Canada. It is Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all of our Canadian listeners. Happy Thanksgiving. All right. So, Phil, what's new? What's going on in the world of Phil?
Catching up on The Boys. I finally cleared season 1.
Best show out there right now. Best show out there right now.
It initially turned me off due to I don't know, it was just too much. I was talking to Tyler earlier about this, and I know that he doesn't really watch it. It was just a lot of violence and a lot of learning curve because it's all new characters, and that I found it dissuaded me on the first attempt to watch it. However, all of the news and the energy behind it have brought me to watching more of it.
Yeah.
And I'm catching on to it. So, and it is a big kick that's filmed in Toronto. There's those moments like, hey, I know that place and shit like that.
Yeah.
But and Brave New World, stuff like that. That's what I've been spending my time on, and rewatching Star Wars on Showcase. So,
Right. Yeah.
because goodness knows I can't just fire up Disney Plus and watch it. Right, I have to
Nah.
watch it with commercials.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta.
Tyler, how
Something
about you?
weird about that.
What's new and exciting in the world of Tyler?
We are in the middle of rolling out a new policy to deal with white supremacists, which is the bananas thing to have to say, but here we are in 2020. And I am back on the hiring spree. I am looking for artists to hire for some projects.
There we go. Man needs artists. So if
Yep.
so can our listeners send anything anywhere?
Yeah, they can. I'm just trying to figure out where to get them to send it. Yeah, send it to things@brokenthings.ca. Any portfolios, any information, any stuff like that. That is the best email to send me art portfolios and a rate card.
There we go. Things@brokenthings.ca. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, like I said earlier, there's quite a bit to talk about, and I think the major thing I really wanted to talk about was Warner Brothers and their new release schedule for movies. Everything's being shifted because, well, the world is changing yet again. And, you know, if you're from Toronto, you're locked down basically at this point. If you're from Montreal, you're locked down basically at this point. And all theaters are closed yet again. So unfortunately, that means that major studios have had to rejig the release schedules for the upcoming movies. And there were some major changes. Notably, Dune, which was originally supposed to be released at the end of this year, has been moved to October of 2021. But, guys, hold on. Wait a second. The Batman was supposed to be releasing October of 2021. That's an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's okay, because the Batman has now been moved to spring of 2022. Not that
Huh,
anyone is really
Not
shocked.
that bad.
It's not, yeah. But, you know, we were talking about this, a few months ago when we were talking about movies in general. And yeah, the reality is that, like, well, here we are. Dune and the Batman have been moved. You know, Dune, for everyone who doesn't know, is a sci-fi movie directed by Canadian director Denis Villeneuve, is now scheduled to open in October 2021 instead of this December. The Batman starring Robert Pattinson has been moved to spring 2022. So, you know, I'm not shocked. Here we are. This is the reality, and I feel like half of our show is just giving people updates to movie releases.
Oh, I agree. It's become bananas. And it's also like, as we expected, all things are delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a theater chain in the States that has closed down too. I forget which one because it's different than up here. But one of the major chains just decided, you know what? We're not playing in this environment right now. And do you think it's going to be good for movies or bad for movies? Because right now, I think a lot of movies get shotgunned, and maybe we don't end up with the best version of the movie. Hence, you know, all this stuff with Snyder Cut and stuff like that, where we get fan rebellion over boardroom decided movies. And now maybe this gives the artists and directors a chance to actually polish and make a much less crunchy film, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
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 I get you.
Here's the thing. You know, when we were talking about this earlier, a few weeks ago, Dune was being rushed in the editing process to meet the December 2020 timeline. They thought they were going to be able to do it. The reality is that, you know, with major... okay, take a step back. Movie is being edited in Montreal. We know that Montreal is going through another lockdown right now. So the reality of that situation is we don't even know how much work they can actually get done because of these new restrictions in place, because of whatever. We don't know if they have to do any reshoots at this point. So, you know, it's a toss-up. So just to your point, Phil, I agree that I feel like, this will give us the opportunity to get the best possible film out there. And then when we take a look at the Batman, who knows how filming is going. I'm sure there are a lot of eyes right now in terms of production, because as we know, everything was stopped when Robert Pattinson tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah. It's been a disaster out there. I don't know how you can expect to keep a movie on anything resembling a normal schedule. The 10% increase in budgets that was projected a while ago, I don't think that number is going to hold. I think it's going to start to balloon real fast on a bunch of people.
Yeah. What's your take, Phil?
I'm hoping the movies end up being better. Like I really think that Dune was in an advanced position because of most of these concerns that you brought up, which are legitimate concerns. Dennis had already addressed them in the media and already mentioned that they overcame them, and already mentioned that they did their additional shots and whatnot that they needed to do. However, I think this gives them breathing space, and that's never a bad thing. I think we possibly run into the idea that we're going to be maybe asking for the pandemic version of the movie at some point, or it goes into a Blu-ray version. Like, this was the cut that we were going to push forward, and then we ended up being able to add these extra 20 minutes for the Dune Deluxe that you got in the theater.
Interesting.
I think there's a marketing play in there. I really do. And I think that if the art is better, and the music and the editing and the performances are better, it might be a fascinating thing to look at.
Yeah,
because really the epicness of Dennis, right? Like he did
True.
2049. Like, fans eat that stuff up.
Yeah, oh, totally. I hadn't thought of it that way. I think it's a really interesting take on it. Is this is enforced extra time in the hopper. And I don't know. I don't know if it's going to end up being a thing that just ends up sitting on a bunch of hard drives somewhere, not being done whatever.
Well, that would be a real tragedy. I think if you're given the time, like, let's just cross genres here, but into the same idea of a huge, multifaceted project. You look at 2077. If you told me, if you told that crew right now, well, we could miss the November release date and do it in March and give you that 3 extra months, I bet you every creative on that team would go, we'll jump at it, because that means 3 months worth of not having bugs, or that additional content that got thrown off or removed from the production of it, we can now do.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they have the same type of attitude in the movies. Like, you're given a gift here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more important than making it work.
Well,
if you release a stinker after all this time...
Yeah, it is important that they're getting paid, though, right? Because we've heard some reports from some productions that it's like, oh yeah, we're done and we're shutting it down. And I can't imagine a lot of people continue to do editing or continue to do whatever work when they're not getting paid, even if they believe in the project. Like, there's only so much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it's like, I got to find my next gig.
Yeah, I don't know where that gig is coming from in this environment either. That's boredom might be the best thing right now, even if they aren't getting paid.
I would be very concerned about that, right? Because then all of a sudden they're setting the precedent that they're willing to work for free. And, as soon as you're willing to, you end up in the same situation as video games. Yeah.
Well, I and by no way talking about this am I espousing the idea that, people should work for free in a pandemic. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, I know creativity, and I know you're a creator. Mm-hmm. Creativity is something that's inside you, and it's not right of the industry to mine that in their favor without properly compensating. By no way am I endorsing that, but I'm just saying, I can see Dennis going, oh man, I can think there's like 4 or 5 things that I really fucking wanted to do on this, and I couldn't because of time constraints or whatever. And if you're already sitting on money and you have the luxury of being safe and not having to look for that second job, that next project for a little bit, his reputation precedes him. He might dedicate that time into the project. Just like a lot of the people who worked on the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance did. and things like that. I think the extra hours and the extra, time that they put into that season meant that the project got to be that much better, and I just could see it being that way.
Not that it did them any good.
Yeah, exactly.
No, in the end, yeah.
Right, it's kind of like an unfortunate example.
Yeah.
Because,
I don't...
Yeah, but that's a money thing with Netflix, and I get it.
Fuck Netflix right now. Upping their prices.
Yeah.
At least here in Canada. Here's the thing. I don't know exactly how the movie industry works in terms of unions and whatnot, but, you can't volunteer your time if you're part of the union per se, right? So, you have to get paid in some shape, way, or form. So it would be kind of interesting to kind of see what's happening right now, as in regards to being tied to projects. Because, well, unfortunately, a lot of these projects that are being delayed, they're being delayed because of, for one reason or another. And it would be interesting to see and talk to somebody within the industry to get a better sense of how they're kind of maneuvering through the industry and job to job right now.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah. Even let's look at this on another level and whatnot, and think about Disney in their kind of world of Marvel universe, and having to move Black Widow back that extra step into 2021. What does that cascade into for all the other projects? How does this all start making interconnected sense, which is one of the highest selling aspects of the casual Marvel universe that Disney has been promoting, and Kevin Feige, is that whole interconnectedness, and the payoff when you're watching an Endgame or whatever, and you go, holy cow, this is been the best 7 years of my life watching all these movies, right?
Yeah.
And that's just got to be a huge production thing.
Yeah, I mean, on their marketing side, they'd announced that the new Eternals comic has been delayed. We got a whack ton of reprints, facsimile editions of Black Widow comics, and a brand new Black Widow series launching over this past month and a half to coincide with the movie that now didn't release. And Marvel's already said, Eternals has been delayed until that movie comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this cascades, and the dominoes keep falling, and now we have to think about creators. And at some point they're going to be delayed. They're going to be told, hey, slow down, tranquilo, or their projects might be postponed, or their due dates pushed out. So as a creator, even in the comic book world, it would be interesting to see how they are maneuvering around the situation, especially when you think about the way that Marvel works now. It's this big marketing machine that kind of coincides releases of their movies and their comics and et cetera, et cetera. So, with so much depending on each other, it'll be interesting to talk to someone. And guess what, guys? In a few weeks, we're going to be talking to Jim Zub, comic book creator, Toronto's own Jim Zub of Skull Kickers and many, many more comics. We're going to be talking to him in a few weeks. And, these are the type of things hopefully we can get into. We talked to him, 5 years ago now? So I'm really looking forward to chatting with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
it'll be interesting.
Big time. And, it certainly doesn't hurt that he's got a new story and a new Star Wars book coming out too. So
yeah,
he doesn't know we're going to talk to him about that yet, but we're going to talk to him about
okay. Yeah. Well, it'll be pre-press time. So
yeah, the other side being that it's going to be really interesting to see how many people on that creative side are getting involved in other projects, right?
Yeah.
Keanu's done a comic now.
Yep.
Berserker. A number of other famous people have been branching out. Amanda Palmer has a podcast now, and it's kind of like, hey, what are you doing? So, Patreon and Kickstarter and all these other options let people go indie, even if they're huge. And I think that we've already started to see some people moving that direction. I think we're going to keep seeing it.
Even look at the music industry, too.
Yes.
Yeah, Vin Diesel.
Yeah, well, there's that. But I mean, in terms of the artists are now branching out, connecting directly with fans,
Yep.
and doing exactly what these big movie star conglomerations do, and they're doing it because they're not touring and they need to generate cash somehow. So they're releasing special T-shirts directly. They're Instagram storying stuff. There's like, it's amazing to me to see how approachable all of these media icons have become
Yeah.
during this crisis.
Yeah. And then going back to comics, we have Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel, who recently launched a Kickstarter for their new comic Nocturnal. It is like just absolutely killing it on Kickstarter right now. It's doing really well. So, here we have two creators who are 100% going their own route, the Kickstarter way. Question for you, Tyler, in terms of this comic, how do comic book stores handle these types of releases? Or is it just you don't really have much to say or do?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the time the question becomes if it goes through Diamond or not. Or now that we're approaching a potential post-Diamond world, we need a way to get the comic. And we need a way to get the comic at a reasonable rate, is what, like, the long and the short of it is, right? Comics can so easily turn into dead stock that the margins baked into the industry are necessary, right? Like, if we could sell every single comic every week, we'd be rolling in it, but we can't. And being a comic book shop means you're taking a risk on, frankly, some stuff that either is going to be a dud or it's going to be a dud locally. I mean, I'm in an interesting position where we own 3 stores, and what does well at my store does not it's night and day with the other locations. Recently, this past week, we had what was it? Department of Truth. That I couldn't get anyone to look at, and every other location we have is sold out. And it's just how ideas and stuff spread. So if it's going to go on to Diamond or whatever, that's where we're going to find it usually.
Yeah.
We'll reach out and support other people. I mean, we have been huge at supporting Lemire because he's good friends with the owner.
Yeah.
We recently did a stock take, and we found just like hidden caches of Royal City. So,
Ooh. I might have to go pick that up.
Yeah, we had a bunch. We actually did a deal with Lemire, and we have a unique cover you can only get from us for the Royal City first graphic novel.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, it comes down to how are we going to get it? I mean, Keanu Reeves' comic was on Diamond within, I think, like the first week of the Kickstarter. So we were like, oh, we can see how this is going to do. This is easy for us to address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you rely on Diamond or whomever the distributor is going to be.
We need a way to get it. And having been on both sides of that equation, if you're an indie producer, it is super hard to ship your comic and make the margins you need without using Diamond.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? If I want to ship something to BC, I need to get it to 4 comic book stores in BC.
Yeah.
Oh, I lose so much money in that equation.
Let's just think about shipping rates and stuff like that. Like, comic books aren't light. you know what I mean?
It's not even the weight, it's the size.
Yeah, and the size. Because it's by volume, right?
Yeah, because shipping a comic, because we do like singles and we'll mail them. Shipping a comic in a T-mailer, you're looking at least $10 right now.
Man.
Like minimum. So it's like, how are we making money off of like a $5 comic?
Yeah, exactly. It's such a weird industry, right? Like, who in their right mind would open a comic book store?
I mean, we're making bank during COVID, so I kind of see it.
Yeah.
It's knowing the market because, like I say, here in the town where I live, we used to have what's called the Comic Wizard, and Bob used to run it, and he gave it to his, manager to run, and the comic book store was really struggling, and the whole while Steve Gilbert is part-time there, and being really observant in the trends and really digging into the analytics of how things are moving, where's the risk, things like that. He eventually took over the comic book store, rebranded it as Fourth Dimension. And you know what? I think he's doing quite well with it because he paid attention to the stuff that you have to pay attention to and not just wing it. You know what I mean? And go, oh yeah, well, let's order, 4 billion copies of the Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That maybe it doesn't move. You know what I mean? And then you're stuck on that and you're hemorrhaging cash, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and the other side being you got to know how to diversify and what you're good at and what you're not good at. I mean, I always loved making the example between the Dragon and Gotham Comics over in Mississauga. Gotham Comics is where you go if you want back issues.
Yep.
Like, they do it super well, but the downside being, if you're a mom with a kid who just watched Into the Spider-Verse and your kid's like, what do I read? We're going to beat them on that one because I can be like, here's your 3 comics you start with.
Yeah. Gotham is great for collectors.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah, and you got to know your market, right?
Yep.
And that's the key.
Exactly.
It's knowing what your market will bear and what the interest is in the area. If people are coming in, and it's by and large, like Tyler says, women and families with kids that just watched the Spider-Man movie and they want to know where to go, you got to know that that's what you're stocking for versus the collector versus all that stuff, right? Like,
yep.
So,
totally.
I know I go to Microplay for retro gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do it well.
Thing. And they do it well. So.
Yeah, that's where I used to go back in the day when it was a legit chain.
And not 3 locations in Guelph and KW.
Yeah. So here we are talking comic books. It's a subject that we tend not to talk about a lot for some reason or another. But do you know who actually hates talking about comic books more than you and I, Tyler?
Who's that?
Alan Moore.
It's true.
And the reason why I bring up Alan Moore is because he's been giving interviews lately about his new project, The Show. And in these interviews, he came out saying 2 major things that I want to discuss with you. The first is Alan Moore says COVID may be the final blow to the comic industry.
I mean, he's wrong.
Yeah.
But okay.
So here's a direct quote. I doubt the major companies will be coming out of lockdown in any shape at all. Moore told Deadline, the mainstream comics industry is about 80 years old and it has a lot of pre-existing health conditions. It wasn't looking that great before COVID happened. So here's my take. I'll give my take first this time. I think this guy is completely out of touch with the comic book industry. I think that he's just a bitter old man that, yelling at clouds, and, a lot of this is just his personal opinions on an industry that he's left behind and is angry, and if you ever mention The Watchmen to him, he might punch you in the face.
Yep. I think you're largely right. I think that, honestly, like Alan Moore, I don't think Alan Moore is in touch with it as used to be. I mean, I really like him, but I think that also, I think that to their credit, Marvel and Image and Boom have done a phenomenal job at bringing new blood in. Yep. And DC to a lesser extent. I mean, DC partly did it to their whole thing, but by and large, everyone's getting that you need the new blood.
Yep.
And young kids come into the store for Ms. Marvel and Miles Morales. And frickin' like everything Boom's doing.
So, I feel like I'm going to be a little controversial saying this, but I don't care. I feel Alan Moore is just one of those comic gate type people.
Ooh, that's an interesting take.
Think about it. Think about it. He's a bitter old man. He's angry at the industry. He clearly doesn't like change, even though he did. And the irony here is that he did write books like Watchmen, which is so revolutionary, had different types of heroes and heroines. But here he is basically saying, the comic industry is in its last breath. And if you pick and you hear some of his other comments, he always talked about, the changing industry and how these changes aren't working, etc. I don't know. He's just a bitter.
Hang on here. Just to play on to that. So this guy, obviously storied. I've read The Watchmen. I've read some of his stuff before.
Yeah.
Obviously know how big of an impact he is. But here he is trumpeting that video killed the radio star.
I mean, the other side of it being, if you look into that interview more, he starts going off about like how Batman shouldn't be a serious character.
Yeah.
And it's like, you and Gaiman and everyone from your era made comics big by making it serious and saying we should take these seriously. You don't get to turn around and say that, it's wrong now because of whatever. And I don't, like, DC gets a bit grimdark for me, but I'm not shaming the people who come in and get it. The other side is, it's I don't know, I find it's typical modern Alan Moore of he gets like he's partially right and then gets like a weird conclusion.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of his points was that a lot of these creative companies, especially Marvel and DC, are pretty top heavy, and I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But the other side being 2016 size of the comic industry was $1.08 billion. What do y'all think it is 3 years later in 2019?
Yep. Exactly.
1.2 billion.
Yep. There you go.
That's an industry. It's growing.
Exactly. We get the numbers month to month. Here's another interesting quote. I'm not so interested in comics anymore. I don't want anything to do with them. Moore told Deadline. Mm-hmm. I had been doing comics for 40-something years when I finally retired. When I entered the comics industry, the big attraction was that this was a medium that was vulgar. It had been created to entertain working class people, particularly children. The way that the industry has changed, it's graphic novels now. It's entirely priced for an audience of middle-class people. I have nothing against the middle-class people, but it wasn't meant to be a medium for middle-aged hobbyists. It was meant to be a medium for people who haven't got much money. This guy's off his fucking rocker.
I mean, I understand that criticism.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
But my counter is comicsology.
Fact.
Yeah. All right, it's naive. Okay, it's a simple fact that, well, look, stuff's changed. I'm mad. That's what it just sounds like to me. Honestly, like old man yells at a cloud, just like Boris said. Because I'm like, okay, I remember the golden days of walking downtown and seeing a spinner and grabbing a comic off of it and spending 15 or 25 cents on it. I remember those days. I remember it was a golden age, and there was a lot of crap as well. There was a lot of bad writing, pulp, garbage. All right. Like, it's cringeworthy right now. You look at when you go in right now and you drop your good amount of money on a graphic novel or a series that's going to be a graphic novel. You look at the quality of the writing, you look at the quality of the art, you look at the quality of the story. And as long as it's in your flow, as long as it's in your vibe, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I know it's not for everybody. Like somebody who might not like violence picks up an issue or a novel and is like, well, this missed my mark. Well, that's up to you to do the research. Find out what you want. But the thing is that the industry has really matured. And to be arguing against that maturity is just hilarious to me.
And here's the thing, back to Tyler's point, he is part of the people who revolutionized the industry into what it is today.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, man, like Watchmen. Yeah. Read it. It'll blow your mind.
Watchmen TV show.
That's not the most serious thing you've ever read.
Yeah.
I heard it's not very political.
God.
Like our podcast. So, here's you okay there, Tyler?
Yeah, no, Phil knew he was like, I'm just gonna rile Tyler up.
I'm just gonna
back off.
All right. So here's
shoot that one out there.
Here's the second point that Mr. Moore's made, and that is in regards to superhero cinema. He said, I haven't seen a superhero movie since the first Tim Burton Batman film. They have blighted cinema and also blighted culture to a degree. Several years ago, I said I thought it was really worrying sign that hundreds of thousands of adults were queuing up to see characters that were created 50 years ago to entertain 12-year-old boys.
Wait, but Alan Moore, I thought you wanted it to be an industry for the lower classes.
Yep.
And not a form of cultural elitism.
Isn't that funny?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's arguable after that original Batman Keaton Burton film that I would walk away from superhero movies too, watching Jack Nicholson play the Joker. I don't know. It's such a funny time, and I guess as at that point, as a kid, it was exciting. If you would have brought me in at my age right now, I might sit there and think, "Well, this is a lot of tripe on the screen." And maybe that's where he stopped. I don't know. Maybe that was his mindset. But there's a lot of great stuff out there right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's like Mark Maron. He came out, what is it, last year or 2 years ago, and he started making all these comments. Basically, the same thing of what Alan's saying is like it's just for man babies to want to be a superhero and to go and line up, and it's ruining Hollywood and it's ruining the industry and all this crap. And then he signs on to the Joker.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, you can't have it both ways, guy. Like, I get what your point is about how it suffocates cinemas and it suffocates the industry a little bit, but it's what people are consuming, for crap's sake. Like,
The other fucking side of that is like we have Lighthouse and Color Out of Space, which are some of the weirdest shit we've ever had in cinema. What about Blood Machines? Like,
Yeah.
we have more weird shit now than ever.
yeah, it's almost like there's too much, right? I don't know. It's a funny world. I get where Alan's coming from, but you know what? Like, there's a lot of stuff out there. Tyler, what do you think?
Look, we have some of the weirdest stuff coming out. It's just a lot of complaining over the world did turn out the way I wanted it to. I got really surprised by that sneeze. It came out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming. I think I'm dead now.
Oh, that one caught me off guard.
Like I was mid-send, like usually the sneeze, you're like, oh, this is coming, and this was just like, nope, bam.
Wow.
God, the weirdest timeline.
If we're keeping this, I'm just gonna let people know that we can see each other, so that's why there's the
I'm
comedy.
just fucking having fries.
Oh yeah,
I know,
Boris
Boris is
fries the
eating
entire
food.
time.
It's like,
God,
and then he pushes the mic away and starts hacking. And Tyler's just like, "Whoa!" Just there was a spastic sneeze out there.
yeah. Look, it was coming, and I didn't want to go right in the mic. I was trying to be respectful. I got caught flat-footed.
Yeah, no, you handled it
It
beautifully.
picked up more fucking noise than if you had just fucking God. Whew.
It was a bad one.
Whew.
But yeah, so
Old man yelling at
basically
clouds.
we got a lot of variety of content out there. It's not like the only thing being produced is these super heavy serious superhero movies. The fact is that the content's out there and there's a lot of variety in the industry for anything that you could want to watch or do.
Also, wait a minute. Didn't Alan Moore write a fucking comic about a serial killer from the 1890s?
Yes.
I think, yeah.
He also wrote V for Vendetta.
Yeah, that was a light
Yeah.
walk in the park. I guess he didn't go see that in the theaters.
I think he actually refused the money from it.
He did.
In his defense,
Oh.
I think he was actually like, I'm not even taking the money.
Good for him, but you know how many times I walked into Chapters or Indigo up here and there was a V for Vendetta graphic novel packaged with a mask for like $35.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
I'm sure that check hit his pocket. So
Oh, yeah.
For sure. He's opinionated. He's not an idiot.
no, I'm good on him. It's his money
Hey,
to
and
have.
look, we've spent the last 15 minutes talking about him. Not his
And
project, just him.
I mean, I'm five it up with something else. What's up next?
Oh, I'm opening up my burger. That's what I'm doing.
Oh wow.
You're opening up your burger. Like, are you going to start eating it, or are you going to open it and, like, takes things out?
I thought he was eating these veggie sticks. I'm like, they're actually French fries. Amazing.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
I'm going to deal
That's
with that next.
It's hard to vamp for this one.
Yeah, all right. Look, we're going to talk about Amy Coney Barrett now. No, we're not. Oh, let me give you just a sec to pull up my notes.
Oh,
I think we wanted to talk about The Boys, didn't we?
we can talk about The Boys. I'm okay to talk about The Boys.
You
Finally,
want to talk about The Boys? Yeah.
I always want to talk about The Boys.
You don't?
I said I always oh, fuck.
Oh, you always
yeah.
said I don't.
He's the most excited Boys fan I've ever seen because, and I don't mean that in the weird way that could be extracted. I'm just saying that basically Boris is always telling me how great the show is. There we go. That'll be my politically correct statement.
Yeah, Phil, I'm always talking about The Boys. I'm always...
So, Patton Oswalt and other people released the new MODOK trailer from executive producer Jordan Blum.
No. Nope. No MODOK talk. Fuck. No.
But Melissa Fumero from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Ben Schwartz are in it.
Oh, boy.
They play MODOK's children.
Hey, did we mention that Boris is back?
Yeah. Other news, because we're just going to whip through it really quick. Terry Pratchett's The Watchmen subset of his Discworld books is being, air quote, made into a television series. Which his daughter says, look, I think it's fairly obvious that At the Watch shares no DNA with my father's watch. This is neither criticism nor support. It is what it is. And Neil Gaiman, good friend of the now deceased Terry Pratchett, said, the fan base are fans, and they like the source material because it's the source material that they like. So if you use something else, you risk alienating the fans on a monumental scale. It's not Batman if he's now a news reporter in a yellow trench coat with a pet bat.
Yeah. There's real danger, right?
Yeah, for those who haven't looked into this, it's originally a high fantasy comedy that now appears to be a steampunk, cyberpunk, serious show with a drunk. Oh yeah, no, you got to watch the trailer. It has nothing to do with the original books.
Oh come on! When we originally were talking high concept of this element in the show, I was excited to hear Terry Pratchett's name being brought in. Look at the great job that was done with Good Omens, right? The TV series that was on Amazon Prime that stayed loyal to the source material, and that's what Neil and Terry wrote together was that book, and formed their friendship. Yeah. And the guy's got such a rich legacy, that Discworld series. Yeah. Is epic in proportion. I was just thinking, I was relating back to something we talked about on another show about what do you do with all the credits you're accumulating in Audible? I've decided that now I'm going to collect all of the Discworld books.
Oh, nice. Who do they have narrating those?
I don't know, but I'm going to go find out because now this month, when it goes through, when the transaction goes through, I've got nothing to buy, but I'm thinking that's what I'm going to buy because I'm caught up on Star Wars. I'm caught up on a lot of stuff. So I'm thinking that would be the long haul purchase, right? Is to get back into Discworld.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I always been worried about who does the voicing for some of those because there's a bunch of them that Will Wheaton does. And say whatever you want about Will Wheaton, as a book narrator, he is way too excited. Yeah. He's acting, not narrating, and I don't know. That's not what I want.
I listened to him doing, what was it, Ready Player One?
Yeah.
I think you read that one.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
He wasn't the original narrator, and I've listened to both and liked the original narrator a lot more.
Makes sense. Yeah, and sometimes that can turn me off too. Even with some of the Star Wars stuff, I've been meaning to read that Palpatine book that's Legends now. And the narrator on the Audible one is just too deep voiced.
Oh, I love a deep voiced person on there, though.
Yeah, but the regular guy that they have doing it with the slight accent and stuff, and he does the voices he's, he can do C-3PO or whatever. He can change the pitch of his voice to kind of voice act.
Fair.
I kind of like that, whereas when you got a deep voice and you can't project, and it's really difficult sometimes to get the buy-in when the guy tries to emulate Princess Leia with like Darth Vader's voice. It's just weird. Takes me out of the moment. I like the Star Wars books, just so anybody knows. Not only because I like Star Wars, yes, that's established, but because they put a lot of sound effects and a little bit of the music in there. And it breaks up an audiobook that sometimes is a little bit dry.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Well, that sounds terrible, Tyler. I don't know if I'm going to bother with that now.
Yay! Well, no, you should check who's narrating it, because a good narrator is going to.
Oh no, I don't mean the narration. I mean this Watchmen, this watch thing. This. Terry
Yeah, it looks bad. It looks real bad. It looks real bad.
All right. The Boys. Season 2 finale.
The Boys.
This past week.
Yeah.
Holy shit, was it a good episode. Holy shit.
But it's not political. That's the best part, right?
Oh, God. It is. The past 3 or 4 episodes, the entire series is super political. Really is a good kind of reflection on where we are in today's world. But the past, 3 or 4 episodes have, taken it up a notch. Especially, as we heard earlier in this week, with the whole, the alleged plan to kidnap the Michigan governor, things like that. It's just wow, really, when they wrote this, it's you could not have planned for a better release than now, weeks before the election.
Yeah.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that too. But, yeah, so my thing is, the same person who came into the store about a month ago saying that he hates political comics came in yesterday ranting and raving about how good The Boys is. And I had to go, isn't The Boys bananas political? And he says, no, it's not. So, guy, it's not political. Sorry, shut it down.
Is this Todd from Tennessee that goes into your store?
Guy, you'd think so, right?
Wow.
It is one of the
even
most
for
heavy.
I'm an idiot watching this stuff. I am as unplugged as you can be, and I don't want to get into the politics of it. And even I can't ignore them in this thing. The main superhero Homelander is a complete asswipe. Yeah. Wearing the American flag, and that's not why he's an asswipe. He's an asswipe because he's an asswipe of a person. Yeah. And just what's brewing now in their corporate world. I'm about halfway through the second season. What's brewing now in that corporate world, what's brewing between Stormfront or whatever, and Homelander. I'm excited to get through the next 3 episodes today, because I want to see the end of it.
The other side being they have a character named Stormfront.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. With a very interesting origin story.
Yeah. Well, and for some people in the audience who maybe somehow don't know, Stormfront is the name of a literal neo-Nazi webpage.
Yep.
And people are like, no, it's not. It's not political.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? It's all about these conspiratorial shout-outs, and that's the stuff that misses on me. I don't know that about this neo-Nazi stuff, but as well, you get into the debates and what the president says and how it gets interpreted. It's a bizarre world, man. And the fact that these shows and these comics and all this media are able to exactly what we were talking about, predict it, film it, predict it, and play into it in that way is brilliant and terrifying all at the same time.
It's terrifying to me that our real world is essentially a fantasy world right now. You could not write this stuff any different or any better than how it's transpiring in today's world.
It's the shittiest cyberpunk novel ever.
It really is.
Yeah.
Give us something cool.
We got crazy death drones, and our phones are spying on us, but where's my cybernetic arm?
Yeah.
Yeah. How come I can't live forever but be unhappy?
Yep.
How's that for a heavy one? Oh.
So
yeah.
I hear you guys were talking about Joe Rogan earlier on an earlier episode.
Oh boy. Tyler might be getting ready to throw some things.
Yeah, I'm looking for someone to stab someone with.
Tyler, tell us how you really feel.
Joe Rogan, footage leaked of him talking to Alex Jones. And Alex Jones said that Joe Biden wants to kill babies after they're born so he can eat them. And Joe Rogan's response was, I'm real concerned about late stage abortions. The fact that you do not criticize someone saying that there are literal cannibals out there in the Democratic Party is insane.
Yep.
It should be like
I don't get all this conspiracy stuff.
This stuff,
it's scary.
It has, and this is actually one of the reasons why I'm like really holding back on doing our conspiracy show.
Yeah.
Because
you can't anymore.
Yeah, you can't anymore.
Yeah.
You can't have fun with it anymore. You really can't. It's gotten to the point where it's just absolutely insane what people literally think and things that people are literally posting. It's like it's not even a good graphic novel anymore, some of that stuff.
They know people who freaking are like flat earthers, unironically. They had Donald Trump Jr. to speak at their flat earth event.
Yep.
This is where I see things going, right? Like, it used to be conspiracy theories were about UFOs. It used to be conspiracy theories were about, the hidden planet or planet whatever, planet X. It used to be conspiracy theories were about, a lot of different government cover-ups, but I don't know. You read it and you kind of went, oh, wouldn't that be interesting if it were true? I don't know. I got into it for a while, but then it started getting really political. And then people started cutting their cords in the sense that they stopped watching the news.
Yeah.
All right. And now the news is I literally catch people telling me that, oh, I check Facebook for my news. And I'm like, no, why would you do that? You're reading an opinion. You're not reading news. You're reading an opinion about news.
That is
and they're basing and that's where all the shit is coming from, because I don't think that there's any proof anywhere that other than a comment by somebody that Joe Biden and kids or whatever that came out with. And now it's this trope for them. They constantly bring it up politically and things like that, but I don't think that there's any basis or foundation for any of it. And yet everybody instantly believes it.
Yeah, that's basically where we're at. It's a world where people ignore, what's actually going on in the world. They read a meme. They spend 5 minutes doing research on a meme on a conspiracy website page.
Oh, I went to Reddit to get the facts.
And then there you go. Yeah, or Reddit or 4chan, even worse, And here we are, It's just, it's insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me how these people think, how these people conduct themselves. And I don't think they realize how they're absolute hypocrites about their own messaging, their own messages. So, I don't know. Tyler, any final thoughts there?
It's because it doesn't matter. Honestly, Phil got it right that it has become an incessant tool of political discourse. And that's just, sorry, my wife just brought a giant ball of dog fur. And I was like, what the So yeah, it's become just a way of wielding political power, and it's bananas that it has any legitimacy at all. And that, I don't understand how you can be considered to be at all reputable or respectful when you can let someone come on your show and be like, oh no, the former vice president of the United States literally eats babies.
Well, he wears red shoes. Come on.
Jesus.
It's so toxic. So toxic.
Speaking of toxic, Aaron Sorkin wants to make a follow-up to The Social Network.
Oh.
Okay.
Is it called Conspiracy Theory 101?
This is the world we live in.
How Mark Zuckerberg puts on 10 pounds worth of like formula to block the sun and go surfing.
Yeah.
How do you make a sequel to it? Like,
That's
you just expose what a clusterfuck Facebook is? Like,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'll bet I'll have a great soundtrack by Trent Reznor.
I love how you're
It's
going
in his
with
wheelhouse, all
this.
this political discourse.
Tyler and I haven't said a word for how long. You're just keep going. You're good at this.
I don't even know what can be said. I'm sorry, you brought up as a talking point. Confused.
It's bad. It's bad all over. It's just bad.
Maybe they exposed the development of Twitter.
I don't even know. Like, honestly, Aaron Sorkin should better spend his money actually doing something about Facebook instead of making another movie where he, like, engages in this lukewarm milquetoast criticism of the current political climate.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides make some really good points. What the fuck are you talking about, Aaron Sorkin?
Isn't
You can't say the Tea Party makes some good points. They don't.
Isn't Aaron Sorkin working on a follow-up to The West Wing right now?
He keeps trying to, allegedly.
But apparently it's actually moving forward on stage or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
that's Aaron Sorkin.
Whatever.
So, Amazon's The Expanse Season 5 gets the first trailer and release date. So, episodes will be released every Wednesday, with the season wrapping up on February 3rd, 2021. So, there you go. Phil.
There you go.
Good to have it back.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I watched that, and I thought, holy cow, I got to rewatch the other 4 again and get back into where the show is, because reading the books is very discombobulating in comparison to the show. So it looks good, though. You know, filmed in Toronto. All the actors seem to be back. I'm curious what they do now with the pilot, considering all this controversy that's surrounding him. The guy who plays the pilot on there, I forget his name now.
Yeah.
But I know that there's some controversy, and I've seen the author kind of saying they're going to sort it out, and I have faith that they will. But it does raise an eyebrow because I do like his portrayal of that character.
Yeah.
On the show.
GameStop
Tyler,
and
you're an Expanse guy.
It's a great show. I'm behind on the show, but that final book comes out next year too.
Yeah, it does. It got moved to next year.
Win.
It's supposed to be this year. So
yeah,
the 9th book or 10th book is going to be coming out as well. Probably in February when the show ends.
Probably pretty close.
Because I think they said first quarter. Maybe I'm wrong.
Ooh. Gonna end that 9-book series.
Yeah. Big books too. We're not talking little light read.
Yeah. So many things need to be answered.
GameStop and Microsoft enter a multi-year partnership ahead of Xbox Series X launch. Phil, do you want to give our listeners a rundown of what this actually means and what all of this means to someone looking to buy an Xbox Series X?
Well, they've announced the partnership in Canada as far as you can go to an EB Games and purchase, supposedly at some point, or move your account into a finance position. I think it's going to be $29.99 a month, and you're going to get an Xbox Series X, no money up front, but you're going to be locked into a 2-year contract with Game Pass. It's a great deal. It looks like it's a great way to pick up an Xbox, but with this GameStop announcement, it goes a little deeper. First of all, they're going to be able to offer that, but next Microsoft are going to be actively distributing Microsoft product to employees in the store. So we're talking 30,000 employees that are going to be becoming potential advertisers for Microsoft, because we also have to remember early on this pandemic, Microsoft decided to close down all of its stores worldwide, except for like one, I think. So at this point, Microsoft has removed itself from a retail standpoint, but they're going to be changing or proposing to change the GameStop locations into a Microsoft branded experience as far as not like the store, but more in the video game end of it, and demonstrate product and promotions in there. So you're going to see a lot more Halo stuff. You're going to see a lot more different branded stuff that pushes a Microsoft agenda.
Yeah, that's a very interesting partnership there, especially as Microsoft earlier this year announced that they will be closing their retail stores. So this makes logical sense from a business point of view. And, partnering up with, the game shop in the States and Canada, why the hell not? It's a smart move overall.
Well, if the franchise can survive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big question. Like, is this a lifeline where Microsoft are committing to trying to float the franchise while it goes through this difficult transition? Or is this just a kind of throw at it, and whether the dart hits the middle of the board or it doesn't even hit the board at all, Microsoft doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's a question of commitment and what's in that actual contract, which, beyond the light stuff that we're seeing right now, that's all we know is that it's an opportunity. So who knows? Maybe if it gives GameStop the ability to stick around more, I think it's good, because people do like going to a store and buying your console.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very fair.
I personally can't trust that Amazon or anybody else is going to. I've seen what they do to my action figures. I don't want to think about what they're doing to an SSD. And there was a teardown of the PlayStation 5 this week on PlayStation's channel, where the vice president of build or materials tore down an entire PS5 and showed us and laid it all out on the table. And I just look at those components, liquid metal chips and stuff like that. I can only imagine what's in the Xbox Series X. And I look at the amount of venting and cooling and stuff like that, and knowing how those fins and they can bend. I just don't trust that it's going to go in the back of a Purelator truck and land on my doorstep in great shape. When you're talking about moving pallets of product into a store, it's definitely way more secure.
Yeah.
Right. And I can baby my machine, and I can basically enjoy my $600 or $700 worth of investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just want to be able to buy one. You know what? I just want to be able to buy one. I think that's going to lead into one of Tyler's stories. He's brought up about some statistics.
Oh, no, it's just I heard about am I continuing trying to get a PS5? Yeah, so a marketing firm has reported that 80% of next gen pre-orders are PS5s over Xboxes.
Right.
Which is, if true, a bananas lead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to gauge because we don't have the stats in front of us. We don't know exactly who they're asking, where they're asking. We don't know the full story.
511 people.
Yeah, we have that data. Bill and I already went into it.
You can read the chat.
Yeah, it's a small sample size, which is a big problem. And they are a market research firm, so it's kind of that double-edged sword of they know what they're doing, broadly speaking, but this sample size seems small.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I still think it's going to be largely reflective of the majority of people are trying to get a PS5. I think that's all that it really is probably going to bear out, whether it's 80%, 60%, whatever the actual number is. It gives me hope that there's going to be Xbox Series X's just laying about relatively quickly, if we can expect that demand is heavy on the PS5. And as well, this week, we did find out that the PS5 is going to be 99% backwards compatible with PS4 games. There's only about 10 titles that will not land into that. So if you're a big Afro Samurai 2 fan, or that VR experience of Robinson the Journey, you're probably SOL, so keep your PS4 around so you can enjoy that.
Yeah.
All 10 people will be hugely disappointed.
I do have some of the titles. I was saying to Tyler last night. I do have some of the titles in that list, like probably about half of them. Now, do I play them or care about them that much? Not really.
Yep.
So there is it, and some of them I have on other platforms like Xbox.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just interesting overall. That's a state of the union as far as pre-next gen, and some units have gone out to people for the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Microsoft are doing an amazing job of getting the product out there for preview. Now, they do have shackles on about what they're allowed to talk about, what they're allowed to show. I have seen live video of what this thing is capable of, and it's impressive.
But no Halo.
So, no Halo, no. But at this point, and this is my issue. This is why I'm switching from PS5. I'm going to make that declaration right now. I'm switching from PS5 to Xbox for the initial launch. And that is because both game systems are offering backwards compatibility as the feature to buy it early.
Mhm.
However, Xbox's backwards compatibility is huge compared to what Sony are doing. Sony are including their PS4 library. I have a PS3 that can play PS3, PS2, PS1. I know I don't go back and play PS1 games and whatnot, but there are games that I'm playing. I actually started playing Star Wars, the Force, whatever, the one with the guy, the Star Killer. Yeah. I started playing that this week just because I was curious about some stuff in the canon that it explored, which is no longer canon. But it's fun to go back to the 360 titles. There's quality in there. There's some good stuff. And I'm just thinking for next gen, hey man, could be a lot of fun. I'm not digging the fact that they have that exclusive deal with Seagate for expansion.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No.
I
don't know. I know I'm in the minority here, but I'm just not. I don't care too much about backwards compatibility. I just, it's something that for me, I don't really go back and replay games after the fact too often. So for me, backwards compatibility is not a feature that I would, base my initial purchase of a system for. That's just me.
This isn't backwards compatibility though, as much as it's Game Pass.
Yeah.
Game Pass is like this huge thing that and that's where backwards compatibility crosses the road with Game Pass, because Game Pass offers me the opportunity to play all kinds of different titles out of Xbox's library. It brings the vastness of Xbox's library into an on-demand system. And now when we talk EA, when we talk about EA being part of the Game Pass, when we talk about all of Bethesda and ZeniMax's property being accessible through Game Pass, it's becoming very, very lucrative to become an Xbox fan if you're willing to explore gaming as a culture.
Yeah.
If you just want the latest and greatest, I'm sure, and I love PlayStation. I'm going to be buying one. I'm going to have both. But latest and greatest and all those exclusive titles, yeah, PlayStation. But it's going to take time for those titles to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Microsoft...
So I don't feel compelled.
Yeah, and Microsoft is reportedly working on a direct browser-based solution that will allow it to bring its cloud gaming service previously known as Project xCloud to iOS and iPad OS devices in 2021. I foresee a nice lawsuit happening here, but we'll see what happens.
Well, they've already said they're suing Apple as well.
Yeah.
Well,
they've already said they're joining with Epic.
There you go.
The issue also comes into the fact that this whole idea of web-based content comes out of number one, Netflix do it. That's the way that they do some things. Number two, Luna, which is Amazon's product, that was their solution to work around this issue on iOS. And Microsoft completely copied it because that got announced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that was their solution. So Microsoft immediately, like Phil Spencer came out with this statement the other day about circumventing the rule by doing it through browser. So I think you're going to see Apple come up with some kind of response that bars applications exploiting this loophole in their policy.
Yep.
As well, tagging on to that, Microsoft made an announcement that they're apparently really, really willing to work with vendors about a sliding scale in terms of how they're charging, except on Xbox.
Right.
So if you use Xbox, you're getting dinged the 30%. But if you use the Microsoft Store, they're going to have a sliding negotiable rate.
Yeah, we'll see how far that goes.
Yeah, because it's arguable that Apple are doing the same thing. They're providing the ecosystem, therefore they can charge what they want. If they're going to use that same argument with Xbox,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you get away with it. But
that's exactly it right there.
and I would love to hear like Tyler's deconstruction of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're actually arguably offering this as a way of hurting Apple, because if all of a sudden they're like, no, you can play ball more in managing your ecosystem, and we should not compare these to the old way of doing things. It's a take.
Yep.
It's a take.
I think it's a talking point for a court case. Whether it works or it doesn't, I think Microsoft points to it and go, well, we did this for people.
That's very true.
Right. And then they can all of a sudden be exempted from a legal point of view, or at least considered, right? As, oh, well, yeah, you didn't do what Apple did. And you are open on the platforms that you're allowing to be open on computers, things like that. So I think that it's a way to try and appeal to, at the very base, appeal to the court to allow Macintosh computers or Apple computers to be categorized in a different store than maybe their iOS stuff.
Yeah.
It's an interesting play. I don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
Wow, I got serious there.
Yeah, you did.
Agreed.
Agreedo.
Ugh.
Well, it's been the majority of my content this week is watching the negotiated fronts of this.
Yeah. I hear you.
So, slow news week.
It is a slow news week. But that's all right. Phil, any new Animal Crossing happenings?
Oh, the game is so grindy. I know I say that every time. And I play it every day. I put in at least 20 minutes every day.
That's amazing.
I have $5.5 million in there. Everyone's bum plug. The other guys running around, Sticky Spaz, Jizzy Jazz. It's bananas. It's funny. It's so random. And the seasons change and the content changes.
Yeah.
Right now everything's Halloween. Everything is but it's boring. I gotta say. Like I'm pushing through it because I want to play it for 365 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then never play it again. Like it's become this war within my mind about the little freaking raccoons and like the whole diabolical aspect of this corporation owning me and my island. Yeah. I function within that, and I'm a cog. I really want to do like a graphic novel about I'm the only human and everybody else is an animal world. I just don't get it sometimes.
Are you okay?
There's so many things. Furry porn. I don't know. Like, it's out there.
That's where it goes.
I will continue to find words. It actually wouldn't let me rename something a butt plug because it determined that butt was a word that was bad. So I am finding that there are words in the dictionary so bum plug was brilliant. So and yeah, Boris, I think you could tweet there or send out on social media some of the screenshots I've sent you.
I will. They're gold.
Since we talk about it openly now.
Yeah, they're so gold right now.
I literally have this blue pig that's on my Animal Crossing thing, and his name is Boris. And you don't name them. They show up. And his name is Boris. And he said the most Boris thing to me the other day. I'm walking along. And he's just like, are you still even talking to me? That's Boris. He's so grizzly, man. Funny.
And Tyler is gone.
Yeah. We yeah, I don't know. It's a washroom or is it just an abandonment? We don't know.
Like all of my relationships.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't want to ask right now. No, it's I don't know. The gaming is weird right now. I know it's blowing up huge in this pandemic and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm playing Squadrons a little bit too.
I completely forgot about that game. I don't have it yet.
I picked it up on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. We'll see. How is it? What do you think?
It's all right. It's all right. You know what? It's definitely a lot like TIE Fighter versus X-Wing.
Okay.
Except on the PlayStation, you can put the VR headset on, so you can play it in VR, and it looks good.
Does it?
All right. Yeah, it does. It's not perfect. There's little hangups, but I know it'll get better. It'll iterate into better versions. So I have confidence there. It's fun to be in Star Wars in VR. It's still kind of new.
Yeah.
It's not microtransaction-y at all.
Really? Good.
I don't think that there's anything in there leading me to that.
Yep.
So I don't like flying the TIE Fighter. Or sorry, I don't like flying the X-Wing. I like the TIE Fighter.
Right.
A little bit more. It's a little simpler because there's a lot to manage, and you're playing with the controller. So there's a lot to manage on the X-Wing because you got shields and you got all kinds of stuff going on. Whereas it's like with the TIE Fighter, it's just don't screw up.
Yeah.
It's a little more fun.
But
yeah, it's definitely worth the look into.
I've been so out of the loop in terms of gaming recently. I've just I don't know. It's just, after playing.
It's the phase, right?
Yeah. That's what, my gaming comes in waves, There are times where I'm completely obsessed, and this is what I'm going to be doing, and whatever. But I think it coincided with the fact that for a few months there, we were able to kind of get some resemblance of life back. So being able to see people and whatnot. So I realized that my gaming went down significantly when I started seeing more people. But I can see now, especially as November 12th is coming fast and furious, I can see myself going back into the gaming world and getting re-obsessed with that, especially as we inch closer and closer to full lockdown here in Ontario.
Yeah, we're on our way, but you know what? Cyberpunk 2077 is going to drop soon. It's gone gold this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for those people who don't understand gold, just means that they made the disc. They have a version of code that makes it to the point where it's going to go on the disc. This crunch that's going on, CD Red Project or whatever they're called, came out this week, and they lambasted a lot of reporting studio or reporters for coming out with this crunch story and trying to damn them because they are saying we're paying our employees. We're not in violation of the law. We're asking them to, like Tyler and I pointed out on the last episode, they're asking them to work an extra day a week. It's not a terrible thing. It happens in all workplaces. So they're trying to downplay it. There was actually
the other side was 2 reports were released from actual employees who said that the executives actually asked them, do you want to delay again or do you want to do some 6-day-a-week crunch? Mm-hmm. And they said that it was basically unanimous that everyone was like, what's crunch look like? It's 6 days. It's an extra day of work that we're getting paid for. Let's get it done.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, some skepticism is definitely warranted.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks exactly like you called it last week, that we're going to find out in 6 months or whatever after the game is out and it's a success and whatnot, like the glad handing of, well, we also get 10% of the company's success and all that stuff that came out in that statement will all of a sudden go under the microscope where they possibly are going to come forward with horror stories about how they got shorted cash or how overtime wasn't paid properly or they put in exorbitantly more hours than they originally thought. Time will tell on that one, but the point is, I guess I'm in the boat of video game fans right now, and I just want the freaking thing.
Yeah.
I just want to get lost in that world. I just want to play it, seeing it, and I'm hoping I get my Xbox Series X and get all the goodness of ray tracing. Something else that came out this week was a side-by-side comparison of NBA 21, which looks like a dumpster fire of a game, to be honest. But the side-by-side comparison of the PS4 versus the PS5 came out, and the lighting and everything are just absolutely stunning. It looks like real people playing the game. And then you look at the PlayStation and the lighting element there on. So all that stuff is a big video game week, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot more news coming out. Also, one of the things that I want to do is kind of a retrospective of this generation's video game consoles. So, kind of going through our best and worst, what we liked, what we didn't like of PS4 and Xbox One. So that's coming up in the next few weeks as we inch closer to the release of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So,
And S. There's a Series S.
whatever. Whatever.
It's so exciting.
Yep.
So small.
I guess that's what she said.
Yeah, it doesn't do the 4K. It's so confusing. The marketplace is going nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel sorry for EB Games.
Yes.
That's who I tip my hat to, and I go, you are going to have the most confusing Microsoft product launch in the history of mankind, and you can't even shit talk them because they own you now.
Fuckers.
Yeah, maybe that was the strategy on that play, right?
Exactly.
Just get in there, make sure that they're wearing a Microsoft shirt so when they push the Microsoft product.
Have you pre-ordered yours yet, or what?
Who, me?
Phil.
I haven't gone outside. I don't know where to get a pre-order.
Fucking question. You don't have to accost me for asking it.
No, I'm frustrated by it. I'm not frustrated by the question. I'm frustrated at Sony. I'm frustrated at Microsoft. I just screw them. Like, honestly, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to walk in a Walmart one day and there's going to be a toaster sitting there, an Xbox Series X. I'm just going to go, oh, I'll buy that. And I'll walk out like I'm buying an action figure. Like, it's just so ridiculous right now.
I love how we unpurposely push each other's buttons at this point now.
we're getting to know each other.
So about Joe Rogan.
No, but Tyler, have you ordered your console yet, or are you going to Superstore and racking up those points, or what?
I'm gonna try Superstore, and I have someone at my local EB is gonna try to get me a PS5. Not my local, at the one in Milton where I work. I made a deal. A dark pact was made.
Hey, you should check out Radio Shack too.
I did.
Okay.
Because
I was thinking the source. It used to be Radio Shack. I was thinking those are great avenues sometimes to pick up. And I was actually going to suggest Superstore, and then it broke this week that I guess next week they will be doing some kind of pre-order for it.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m.
You've got to be resourcul out there.
It's
at 5 a.m.
Ready.
Oh. I lost it. I had another point to make. We were talking about something. I'm also, honestly, with this new payment plan, especially for the Xbox, I might get both.
Yeah.
And part of it is that I didn't do the last generation. I just got PS4 in like the last year. So I didn't do the last generation of consoles. So like I'm like, there's a bunch of 360 and Xbone games I can play.
Yeah. It's worth it, man. For $30 a month, the way that this is priced is going to be $35.99, I guess, or whatever with tax.
Yeah.
There's that component to it, but considering the Game Pass service is like $16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's included and free hardware.
Yep.
Well, not free, but
payment plan hardware.
Hardware. Yep. And
it's only
I'm just wow.
I like the fact that it's only 2 years, you know?
Yeah. It's like a cell phone.
Yeah. Well, I think it has to be only 2 years. I think that's actually like a law in Canada.
Oh, that's a law in Canada.
Yeah,
that's right. Because the cell phone company,
thanks
they were exploiting that.
Exactly. Because here in Canada, for our American listeners, we used to have 3-year cell phone plans here in Canada. Here in Canada, we get hosed, to say the least, when it comes to data and cell phones. And for shitty service. So go figure. So yeah, anyways, that's why we have the 2-year limit now, maximum, and that is why Xbox is going that route.
2 years.
Oh, 2 years. 2 years.
I think they do the same thing in the States.
Yeah, sounds about right.
You hoser.
So yeah, like Tyler, I probably will also pick up an Xbox. I'm in no rush, to be 100% honest. I'll probably pick it up if Halo ever does get released. I have my PS5 coming November 12th, so I can't fucking wait for that. And I just wanted to gloat. So there you go.
This week, Xbox released their ad online. It's going to be premiering, I think, on one of the NFL games this week.
Yeah.
For the Xbox One X, and it's got a lot of Master Chief in there.
Of course.
So they're painting that target on the back.
Of course, they have to, right? It's their premier title. Like, that's what makes the fact that game is so delayed so bad optic-wise. From a
what's even bigger for me, though?
What?
Like, Halo is a nostalgia grab.
Yeah.
The bigger thing is the Forza series. Forza is huge. Every year. There's Motorsport, there's Horizon. And these games are fun to play. I don't even play racing games on my PS5.
Yeah.
Because every time they disappoint. And I loved Gran Turismo on the original PlayStation. But Microsoft got driving right.
Gran Turismo turned into too much of a simulator to be fun. It just wasn't.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love like Horizon, the Horizon series, because it's that arcade.
Yeah. It reminds me of Cruisin' USA and Cruisin' World.
Yeah.
So.
But just the selection of cars and the graphics and whatnot. Now the load times are bugging me on the Xbox One S that I have. The load times are bugging me, so that is becoming very compelling for this new generation, this SSD.
Yeah.
And whoever's making SSDs that are compatible with PlayStation, you're going to be sitting on a mountain of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those 1 and 2 terabyte like sticks.
Yep. I can't wait. All right, Phil, tell our listeners how they can get a hold of us, where they can subscribe, and what they can send to us.
Well, we are on the interwebs at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, really anywhere you find a Podbean, wherever you find podcasts, you're going to find us. Even on Amazon. I think I got something Audible on us. But that's coming soon to Canada. So if you like what you hear so far, make sure you click the subscribe button and reach out to us. Let us know what's going on, because without you as listeners of the show, we got nothing. So we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up on social media. Do your thing and be safe.
That's right. Thank you guys as always. And again, I want to thank Phil and Tyler for filling in for me while I took care of business and business took care of me over the past couple weeks. So thank you guys so much for filling in and doing your thing. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. That's right. It is the It's Canon Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things, everything. In particular, we talk about all things comics, all things toys, all things games, all things books, all things movies, all things everything. And you know what the best part of it all is?
I'm hearing it's in canon.
That's right. It's in canon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye. Here we go. We're done.
Is not recording no more?
Oh, it's still recording.
Oh, okay.